U.S. announces new arms package valued at $345 million for Taiwan. Mystery surrounds death of the deputy commander of the Chinese rocket force. Japan raises alarm over Chinese military threat in new defense white paper. More than 300,000 businesses in China closed. The government's rescue policy was considered a stink.
The U.S. government on July 28th announced a new military aid package to Taiwan worth $345 million. A White House memorandum said the aid included defense articles and services, as well as military education and training. Congress has approved that Washington would provide Taiwan with weapons up to $1 billion using the Presidential Drawdown Authority (PDA) mechanism in 2023. The announcement said the weapons package provided this time would use the PDA but did not give information about the weapons. Even so, two unnamed U.S. officials revealed to AP that the U.S.'s weapon package to Taiwan would include man-portable air defense systems, manpads, intelligence and surveillance capabilities, firearms, and missiles. Politico quoted a former Pentagon official saying the weapons package would include MQ-9 Reaper drones and small arms ammunition. According to VOA's report on July 29th, Lieutenant Colonel Martin Miners said at a press briefing on July 28th that the aid package includes self-defense capabilities that Taiwan will be able to use to build deterrence now and in the future. He added that the package addressed critical defensive stockpiles, multi-domain awareness, anti-armor, and air defense capabilities. Recently, there has been a lot of negative news related to the death of the deputy commander of the Chinese rocket force. It was reported that Wu Guohua passed away in Beijing on July 4, 2022, due to a violent illness, though rumors were circulating online that he may have had committed suicide. The news initially gained attention on China's internet hot searches, but was swiftly removed from the list, and related articles from various media outlets were also deleted, raising suspicions of intentional suppression by authorities. An obituary issued on July 25th, later circulated on Twitter, confirmed Wu's passing at 66. The funeral is simple, with a memorial service scheduled for July 30th at Baobaoshan Funeral Home. Numerous Chinese media sources initially reported on Wu's death, but later articles from the websites like Sohu and QQ, including the paper, were taken down. According to Taiwanese media, after the news of Wu Guohua's death was announced, it quickly appeared on hot internet searches in China. However, at about 2100 Beijing time, the reporter of Xinhua Zhejiang checked the hot search list on Weibo, Baidu, and Taotiao, but there was no relevant news. Under related information of the blog Taotiao News, there were more than 200 comments, but none of them were displayed. The death of a lieutenant general or deputy commander is not normal, so it is hidden like that, making observers pay attention. Wu Guohua's career in the military has been significant. Since 1995, he has continuously held many important positions, such as former head of the 3rd Department of the General Staff. In 2010, he was promoted to the rank of former deputy commander of the 2nd Artillery Corps. In July 2012, he was promoted to the position of lieutenant general. After establishing the rocket force, he served as the deputy commander of the China Rocket Corps. Earlier, Hong Kong media reported that Wu Guohua died of a sudden brain hemorrhage after an unsuccessful emergency attempt to revive him. However, rumors were circulating that Wu had hanged himself, which was related to Li Yaochao, the commander of the rocket force, who was taken away for an investigation. On June 29th, former Lieutenant Colonel Yao Chang of the PLA Navy Command announced on Twitter that Rocket Force Commander Li Yaochao had been removed from his office on May 27th, possibly related to betraying China's military intelligence agency. From March until now, the Rocket Force has lost 3 commanders, 2 deputy commanders, and many service and division-level officers. Japan has highlighted its concern over China's assertiveness, issuing a report on July 28 that warns the country is facing its most significant security threats since World War II. Japan plans to implement a new strategy that calls for a substantial military buildup as part of its response. According to AP News, Japan's 2023 Defense White Paper states that China's external stance and military activities have become a serious concern for Japan and the international community and present an unprecedented and the greatest strategic challenge. The report also highlights the growing strategic ties between China and Russia, noting 5 joint bomber flights since 2019 and several joint navigations of warships, which Japan sees as demonstrations of force directed at Japan and the region. The Defense White Paper predicts that China will possess 1,500 nuclear warheads by 2035 and increase its military superiority over Taiwan, posing a security threat to Japan, particularly its southwestern islands, including Okinawa. The report follows 7 months after Kishida's government adopted new national security and defense strategies, which include doubling the country's defense budget to $310 billion by 2027. In response to the report, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning accused Japan of interfering in China's internal affairs and intentionally exaggerating the so-called Chinese threat to create regional tensions. She also pointed out concerns raised by Japan's Asian neighbors and international community about Tokyo's military expansion, urging Japan to halt its military buildup and avoid making excuses for it. Japan and China have strained relationships due to historical issues. According to a recent Pew Research Center survey, 87% of Japanese viewed China negatively. This is the highest percentage among the countries in the poll. China's economy experienced a slow recovery, resulting in numerous company layoffs and a significant influx of unemployed middle-aged individuals into the food and beverage industry. However, many of these ventures closed down after only a few months. In response, the Beijing government hurriedly implemented policies to support private businesses, but faced accusations of being too stingy and not worth discussing. As reported by the Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo, the used restaurant equipment dealer in Beijing stated that in March, when the COVID-19 epidemic stabilized, many middle-aged people across China shifted their focus to personal business endeavors. Initially, the dealer's sales were brisk, but after 3 to 4 months, most of the restaurants he supplies shut down, leading to a surplus of unsold items. The report highlighted that most individuals who failed to establish successful businesses were between the ages of 35 and 50, mainly coming from the 3 main unemployment groups, namely real estate, information technology, and education. An example cited in the report involves a manager who left Alibaba earlier in the year to open up a chain of restaurants in Beijing shopping malls. Despite investing 2 million yuan in franchise fees and equipment installation, his more than 200 M2 shops struggled to attract enough customers, leading to a suspension of business due to the inability to pay rent. This reflects the high expectations of the Chinese public regarding economic recovery after the epidemic and retaliatory consumption. However, due to concerns about financial instability, consumption tightened, resulting in business failures. A viral video showcased the frustration of a lobster shop owner who smashed his shop in the middle of the night. He lamented that despite his best efforts, the worsening situation prevented him from supporting his family's basic needs. Some netizens said, "He is the true portrait of thousands of small restaurant owners on the bottom floor. In an era of meager profits, everyone suffers severe torments and does not endure. If you float, go bankrupt." The data from Chichacha Company revealed that as of June 27th, the number of new registrations of food service-related businesses in China reached 2.022 million. Still, the number of suspending operations or bankruptcies this year reached 365,000, accounting for the 68% of the total bankruptcies in 2022 when strict COVID control measures were in place. Apart from opening restaurants, many unemployed individuals turned to online ride-hailing. For instance, a former Didi Chuxing driver in Beijing, who previously spent 20,000 yuan, $2,800 on luxury car seats when working for a big company, and now he has to use that vehicle to carry passengers to make ends meet. On July 26th, the Ministry of Transport in China conducted more than 10 online rail-hailing platform companies, including Didi, Autonavi, T3 Chuxing, and Cao Chuxing, urging them to halt unhealthy, competitive practices. These circumstances provide insight into the challenging state of the Chinese economy. Responding to the dire economic situation, the Beijing government publishing the opinion of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and the State Council on Promoting Private Economic Development and Growth on July 19th, calling for the entire society to save the economy, support private enterprises, and boost consumption. The publication, consisting of 31 articles, is known as the 31 Articles of the Private Economy. However, a political scientist from Shanghai, using the pseudonym Jiang Fang, recently criticized these rescue measures in an article published on VOA. He says private enterprises and the Chinese public perceive these measures as not sincere enough, unreliable, and not encouraging. The article further claims that the government's approach lacks meaningful and substantive policies and merely relies on slogans and cliches while insisting on maintaining party leadership over private enterprises, leading to dissatisfaction among business people and the general public. The article points out that the government is unwilling to politically acknowledge its mistakes and rectify the unfair treatment of business people. It also fails to enforce laws for protecting property and privacy or provide guarantees for basic needs such as healthcare, education, and welfare. The article points out that today's Chinese businessmen have 5 great needs. Firstly, collective claim and political recognition. Not only must the sentences of business people imprisoned in prison, such as Ren Shigang, Sun Dawu, and more, be revised, but the ruling party needs to recognize their historical contributions and status, level of business community with their historical resolution texts. Secondly, earnest desire to liberalize the internet ban, reform the economic investigation system and the system of arbitrary enforcement measures against business people, limit police power, and protect human rights, fundamental personal rights of business people and all citizens, including freedom of expression and property rights. Third, there needs to be a natural market economy and a minimum of judicial independence, a system inherent in a market economy. Fourth, the bourgeoisie needs minimal space for liberalism in China and opposes the gratuitous rejection of universal values. Fifth, the desire to conduct roundtable meetings with the government and the ruling party on government reform, tax reduction, and decentralization, regulating the relationship between government and business and opposing authoritarianism. The article emphasizes that these requirements are crucial for rebuilding trust between business people, society, and the ruling party, fostering cooperation and creating a win-win situation for the community. However, it acknowledges that given China's current political and social system, achieving these needs is an impossible and distant hope for the people.